couple of screens. Esquivel to Garcia. Off the deflection. Los Fresnos comes back and wins. Now Santa Maria will put up a three. Bang! Santa Maria!
Here's Warner. Here comes the head of the jam. Counted for two. The field. Adios! And the Falcons win on a walk-off. And it's saved. What a game. What's this?
Smack to the left. That is gone.
Rafa Perez. That's my play. Off the backboard. Counting and a win.
And a win. Ryan Perez wins the game for the Santa Rosa Warriors, and they go nuts. And why not?
Well, welcome one and all. It's officially, of course, the New Year's. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. We're back at none other than Luke Fruia, Buick GMC, and Cadillac. Should be a fun little show for y'all here. We'll have a special show, so should be very exciting. We'll be right back.
Rev up your future with Texas Southmost College's Auto Body Repair Program. In just 2 semesters, you'll gain the skills to become an auto body repair specialist. Learn using industry standard iCar Academy to get you job ready fast. If you're ready to drive your career forward, TSC's Auto Body Repair Program is the place to start. Classes are filling fast, so visit tsc.edu and apply today.
Elevation, AT4, AT4X, Denali. Case closed. Fruia GMC, we're professional grade.
Back we go once again here. We're going to be talking, of course, a lot about this weekend coming up, the stuff of this weekend, and the exciting parts for, well, this new year. For, of course, sports. Soccer season is just about to be in full swing. Basketball season now has been in full swing for a quick little minute. But, of course, it's very exciting as, well, now 32-6A, and all of those smaller districts have officially started to play their district games as well, because they don't have a lot, so they get to fill in with a lot more non-district games throughout the season. We'll talk a little bit about, of course, the All-Star football game that's coming up this weekend that that RSLN, aka Rio Sports Live Network, has access to. So that's going to be very exciting, as in we'll be there to cover it, and we're looking forward to having all of that go forward. Once again, I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. Yes, of course, I also want to talk a little bit of college football, if possible, because that's always, of course, fun as it's coming up to the end of the season with the semifinals this weekend. And then a week from next Monday, if I'm not mistaken, is the championship game, which will be very exciting to witness, just due to the fact of it's going to be a national champion that we have not seen either win the national championship ever or in a very, very long time. The Alabama Crimson Tide are eliminated. The Georgia Bulldogs are eliminated. Ole Miss are still in. Miami, Florida are in the semifinals as well. That's Ole Miss, Miami. That's going to be on Thursday, and then Friday is Oregon and Indiana. So it's very, very exciting. We'll talk more about that, of course. We have the All-Star game coming up. We had basketball last night. We'll talk about that. We have soccer coming up very soon. And so that's going to be very exciting to kind of witness in general. So let's move into, of course, our first thing to kind of talk about, which is, again, when are these events this weekend going to be? The events this weekend for Rio Sports Live Network for RSLN. Let's give you exactly when it is. From the start, on this Wednesday, of course, possibility of a basketball game. We'll, of course, make sure with that if it is going to happen. But either a Thursday, the 8th of January, we have girls and boys. Well, girls soccer is what it looks like. And then boys soccer as well from Santa Maria taking on Idea Riverview, and Santa Maria taking on Port Isabel. Or at Santa Maria, my bad. Both games are at Santa Maria, and Idea Riverview is taking on St. Joseph Academy, and Port Isabel is taking on St. Joseph Academy as well. So that's something, of course, to kind of keep an eye on. Then you have on Friday, the big day, all basketball slates at 6 p.m. Edinburgh North taking on Brownsville Hannah. That's at Edinburgh North. That will be by Jay and Randy. Covering that one on RSL 1 for both of those games from 6 and 7:30. And then 6 and 7:30 as well at Sherryland High School. Sherryland High versus PSJ North High School. Both the boys and the girls basketball game. Should be very interesting to see how that one all plays out. It's at Sherryland High. Once again, Brownsville Rivetta taking on Blessigo East. And that should be very exciting as well. That's boys basketball and girls basketball. That one will be on the BIC channel. The other game, of course, that's Sherryland related, will be on the Sherryland channel. The RSL 1, of course, being Edinburgh North and Brownsville Hannah, and Edinburgh North and Edinburgh Economies. You move down to Wesco East, and, of course, Brownsville Rivetta. That's out Brownsville Rivetta. Boys basketball and girls basketball, same time, 6 and 7:30 p.m. That will end. And then, of course, we have boys basketball and girls basketball for none other than St. Joseph Academy with St. Mary's Hall taking on St. Joseph Academy. That's with, of course, Kevin Narrow and the SJA crew. That's going to be on the Bloodhound channel. There will be 3 games to be exact. One of them will be the boys basketball JV game. Saturday, the big Saturday game for everybody, and that is the big celebration of, well, the RGV football season, the Senior Bowl in a way. That's, of course, Saturday, the 10th of January. Football, of course, at 2 p.m. at Bobby Lackey Stadium. We'll be there being able to cover it. It should be a chilly one. Let's take a look at, of course, the weather for Saturday that's expected, because no one said that it would get cold, unless, of course, we checked it out. 15% chance of rain on Saturday, but it will be a high of 68, low of 51 degrees Fahrenheit, so we'll get a little bit of a chilly all-star game, which will be pretty fun in Wesco, of all places. So, very interesting indeed from this Friday and this Saturday. Of course, Thursday, Friday as well for both. As we talked about at the college football world, we'll have the game, 2 games that no one expected to be the semifinals. The Miami, Florida Ducks all of a sudden win the first round, win the second round, the quarterfinals to be exact, and all of a sudden they're in the semifinals to play against none other than Ole Miss, a team that no one expected to be in the semifinals either, beating Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs. So a little bit shocking in the way that everything happened, but it makes for an interesting semifinals for Thursday. And then, of course, Friday, Oregon and Indiana, 2 teams will, at least one team in there with Fernando Mendoza. No one expected to be in that semifinals as well. So, again, just a big, big week of football, big, big week of sports. And I'm going to take a quick break, because when I return, we will talk about none other than, well, the games that happened last night, because there were some pretty big games that happened, some pretty big upsets as well. So we'll take a look at that. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
Kenny Perez came from a small town in Texas. At Kenny Perez Law, we won't stop fighting until our clients get what's rightfully theirs. We're right by your side, no matter what. Call Kenny Perez Injury Lawyers today, 956-999-1111.
Turn your passion into a powerful career at Texas Southmost College. Our automotive technology program will train you in everything from maintenance to full vehicle systems repair. Earn a certificate or associate degree and get certified to work as a C maintenance or B-level technician. You'll be guided by seasoned instructors who have decades of real-world automotive experience, helping you get ready to roll into the industry. So take the wheel and apply today at tsc.edu.
No matter where you are in life, Texas Southmost College is here to help you move forward. Whether you're starting fresh, changing careers, or gaining new skills, TSC has affordable programs designed to fit your goals. It's time to take the next step. Think big. Think bright. Think TSC.
Back we go once again to hear from Luke Fruia, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac. If you're in the market for a new car, well, come check it out. Indeed. I'm Jacob Young, and this is Real Sports Live Network again. Let's take a look back at, well, some of the final scores for the RGV and some basketball. The biggest story coming out of last night was the late game of the evening. What does that mean? Well, of course, we had Harlingen High taking on Wesco High in a district matchup. And a look at, of course, the final score. The Harlingen High girls basketball team slowly, in a way, they were struggling. But they were able to really figure out the way to get the victory. In the first quarter, it was 16-10. Second quarter, Wesco High School outshot Harlingen High 18-10 in that second quarter. At halftime, it was going to be very interesting, to say the least, with, of course, 28-26 basically at the half, with Wesco High leading by 2. What was going to be that key in the second half of play, really in that third quarter coming out, and Harlingen High would have to slow down the scoring from Wesco High. They did exactly that, leading that quarter with 10 points and 7 points against, of course, Wesco High, or Wesco High only scoring 7 points basically in that third quarter. The fourth quarter was a big one, as again, the final score was 51-49. Harlingen High won by 2, and just making sure that they won that quarter 15-14 in a way, as in just getting those 2 points were key in the end of that game. And just a big, big upset when you look at everything of how Wesco High School, their only losses throughout the season. We keep going back to it and how dangerous this Wesco High team is. Destroying McAllen Road 56-49, beating Lafayette 63-35, beating SJA 51-35, beating Brownsville Veterans Memorial High School 39-21, and beating Lee 57-49, and just defeating Harvest Christian Academy 50-46, beating McAllen High School 53-16. I know they had a loss in there against a very difficult team And there we go, San Antonio Johnson and Wagner. They lost 62-37 and 81-37. So they would struggle against the San Antonio schools, to say the least. But in the teams that they need to beat, they were able to normally defeat them. That was a crazy part of playing against Los Fresnos High School. We were there for that one, winning 58-38, really shutting down Los Fresnos. The scoring was key in that game. And then against Brownsville Veterans Memorial, Veterans Memorial struggled to score. So they lost, again, Wesco High School beat them comfortably, 48-24. Then at Harlingen High School, in a very difficult environment, they ended up losing 51-49 in an instant classic game. Their next game, of course, on the 9th is going to be against La Jolla High School, or at home against La Jolla High School, at home against Edinburgh North on the 13th, and then at PSJ High on the 16th. So they'll be able to kind of get back on track, to say the least, for Wesco High School, but a big loss in the end against a very difficult Harlingen High basketball team. We'll take a look at, of course, Harlingen High. This is a big win for themselves. How will this really kind of affect their season? Well, there's only up from here with that victory. Another great team, Harlingen High School. We looked at it. Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, they won 61-39. San Antonio Clemens, they won 71-54. 71-7 over Kingwood Park. Against Bryan, they won 62-47. FBTHS, that school, they just edged out a victory 49-48. And then you just go down the line from these teams. Sotomayor, they win 53-39, or they lost 53-39. They lost against King 46-42. They beat Pioneer 63-28. They defeated Harlingen South High School, their rivals, 50-48. They lost against PSJ North. We were at that game to cover it as well. 58-41. The biggest problem has been the press for this team. And then going down the line against Laredo LBJ, they came back and won 58-21. Against Marshall, they won 36-30. Against Bishop, they won 48-44. They lost to San Antonio Johnson 51-42. That seems to be a very big kryptonite for any Valley school when they play against that type of team, because, well, it's a San Antonio school, and they're a very, very good team, to say the least, from the get-go. Then Laredo United South, they played against them, beat them 44-40. Lost to Warren 65-46. Lost to St. Joseph Academy 43-42. Beat Edinburgh High 50-27. Lost to Foster 47-45. Lost to FBHHS 65-32. Grand Oaks, they won 54-51. Cypress Creek, they lost 54-37. And then your victories of at Laredo United, they won 76-55. They beat Wesco High School. So there's a lot of those non-district games that you can kind of keep an eye on and say, oh, okay, that was a key victory. That was a key game for Harlingen High School to have to play because it led them to be a much better team, to face a team that they would normally see, which is Wesco High School. And so it's just very interesting. And that's what I mean by this is a very good team and a very good district. You have Harlingen High, you have Brownsville Veterans Memorial, you have Los Fresnos, you have San Benito, and Brownsville Hanna. So that's a key thing. Wesco High School, they don't play in this district at all. And so it's another non-district game that's key for both teams. And now with Wesco High School, how can they rebound from that loss? Because I've seen it time and time again where teams like that lose and they cannot regroup for the rest of the season. Now they are playing against some sort of easier opponents. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's going to be a cakewalk for the district title, because no one truly would ever want to say that, because if you end up saying it, there can be problems. So it kind of goes back and forth. For at Brownsville, Hanna, like we mentioned, for Harlingen High School the 9th. Of course, that's going to be the biggest game. Brownsville Veterans Memorial High School at 7:30 p.m. for both, I believe, the boys and the girls. We'll make sure of that here momentarily. But again, Wesco High, they played against that Los Fresnos team early on and were able to get that victory. So it proves for that specific game that it was key. Let's talk, of course, about the other side of things, which was a game that I covered last night. The games that I covered last night were a doubleheader. That was a big doubleheader in general. We go to the boys basketball. Check that. We'll go to the girls basketball game first and just tell you all how it really went down. The early quarters, both teams to struggle to find momentum, but for the most part, PSJ North had more of that. For the early goings, the Mackay Lady Bulldogs were able to keep up with PSJ North in their full court pressure and the way that they were able to do things in those first two quarters. Right at the end of quarter number 2, it was 5 straight points scored by none other than PSJ North High School. So that really set the tone for the second half, and all of a sudden you had players like Stanfield, like Gonzalez, being able to shoot from wherever they favored. And that's how they won the game. We're hot from three-point land, never slowed down, and all of a sudden get the victory. The final score for you all, just in case you're curious on the final score, to be exact, as PSJ North are victorious for the girls basketball team. Go to the schedule. They didn't report the scores, but we of course have the final score. It was an interesting victory for PSJ North girls basketball, just because I always say it, and it always gets me. There are 7 players. Check that, 8 players on the team for PSJ North. We looked at McAllen High School and their roster for the girls basketball team. They have double that. They had 10 players, basically 2 teams on their team, to say the least. And so they have that. They have a lot more depth. And it just blows my mind of how well they're able to play without having that type of depth every single time, getting a chance to have those types of games. Your final score was about 55-37, PSJ North over McAllen High in the girls basketball game. And so that was an impressive victory for just PSJ North High School, getting back to being victors, continuing their dominance in 31-5A. It's not going to be easier as PSJ North, they travel to Sherryland High School to face off against none other than Sherryland High. That's a team that right now, if I had to say so, that's probably for the lead in this district. What I mean by that will be the lead in this district, well, both of these two schools will scroll all the way down. And we go to, of course, the 9th. Sherryland High School, 23-4 overall, 6-1 in district. They already have a loss. Let's look, of course, at the standings for you all here. Sherryland High, they lead the district with Rowe in second and PSJ North still in third, even with that victory that they had, which actually would put them at 6-1, tied with Rowe. Rowe would have the tiebreaker. The reason being, of course, we all know Rowe beat them at the start of the season. So this is just in the girls' basketball side of things and how crazy it has been. McAllen Memorial sit 4th and Mac High 5th. Of course, they are now 6-7. No pun intended as well. It's just their record in district play. They've had a very tough showing a very tough time getting not their act together, but it just feels like they're missing that one player, that one step that can make this team elite, because they're not a bad team at all. It's just the teams that they play seem like they fight a little bit more and just are better. The biggest thing that I saw from last night was the turnover battle. And the turnover battle was won by none other than PSG North. They turned the ball over a lot less and forced those turnovers, giving them opportunities. Now, for the Lady Bulldogs, missed a lot of open opportunities, a lot of open shots on transition to try to get back into the game. A lot of three-pointers that were taken from a little bit too far down the court that did not necessarily need to be taken. Just hurt themselves from getting back into the game. A late fight, though. I can see how talented this team is for Mackay, because later on they were able to try and kind of close the gap up to what it was. They were down by, I believe, the largest of 24 at one point, and got it down to close to 14. So getting those 10 points back, they just opened up that too big of a gap to get back into it that whole game. Again, the Bulldogs, it seems like they've lost games like that throughout the whole entire season. The reason, of course, of why. So they were 3-3 in district. My mistake. Now they're 3-4 in district. So yes, they're out on the outside looking in. There's still plenty of time where they can get back into it and be able to be victorious once more. Their next game after this one will be against none other than their rivals, McAllen Memorial High School. That will be at the Mackay Bulldogs place. Most likely we will expect McAllen ISD to have that one covered, which is, of course, understandable and, in my opinion, necessary for them to cover both of those games, because that rivalry, even in basketball, will be a fierce one. Looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Now, of course, for the boys basketball side, for the Mackay Bulldogs and PSG North Raiders, that was the second time that they got to play against each other. Early on, it was a bit of more of a struggle for McAllen High School to really take off with that game, because of the way that PSG North know how to play, and they know how to play physically, and making their shots can be key. They had a couple of open looks, a couple of second chance efforts to really make a difference in that game. So that was key. As for the Mackay Bulldogs in the second half, let's see if they do have the box scores for you all, because that's always a fun thing to kind of break down for those box scores for the Mackay Bulldogs boys basketball. Look at the, yes, of course, 52-38 was your final. And in that first quarter of play, it was 12-8, McAllen High School led. And then both teams scored 14 points in that second quarter of play. Of course, McAllen High School still leading, but it was a lot closer than a lot of people anticipated in that second quarter of play. Going into the third quarter with 11-2, McAllen High School, really their defense came alive, and PSG North struggling to score, only scoring 2 points. That was your difference in how the Bulldogs were able to take off and win that game, because 15 points scored in that fourth quarter for McAllen High School and 14 points scored in the fourth quarter for PSG North. They were just trying not to lose by 20 points, ended up losing by, well, didn't want to lose by 20, lost by 14 instead. So it was a good balance. PSG North, they came back in that second half trying to get, well, they came back in the fourth quarter, I should say, trying to get back to it. And now your standings for that district very quickly look like this. They look like, for McAllen High School, 6-0. Pioneer High School, 4-1, which I don't believe if that's correct. Probably, most likely won their game last night, so probably 5-1. PSG North in third place. It's not your full standings, of course. Cherryland High School in fourth at 3-2. So actually, check that is correct as something's messed up. But either way, you know who's in first place, and then all of a sudden, McAllen Memorial kind of fallen off. But we'll wait and see, of course, on their victories and/or losses for their season. That's the way that, of course, District 31 5A has been. It's a very exciting district in general because it's been back and forth. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a couple of commercials, and then we'll go back and we'll talk a little college football. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this. Stay tuned.
This summer, settle in and reconnect with one another. South Padre Island has so many great places to stay. Condos, resorts, and hotels. Oh my! Book your summer getaway today. And start making memories poolside with the people you care about most. Visit SoPadre.com.
It means a lot to me. TSC has changed me to make me realize that I can accomplish things. Just don't give up. I've come a long way from where I was to what I am now, and there's no limit to where I'm going.
Permatemp Personnel Services has been servicing local businesses for the past 29 years.
Leave the hiring to us. Let us become your personal hiring guru.
We have a network of skilled employees to fit your needs.
Your success is our strategy.
Don't hesitate, call us now.
Back we go once again here, and well, it's that time of year once again. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. We're here at Luke Fruia Motors for the Luke Fruia. Of course, Talkin Sports here at Luke Fruia. I'm Jacob Young. This is Rio Sports Live Network. Like we mentioned before, it's that time of year where we've passed the weird period in this year. What does that mean? Of course, a new year. And then, well, it's now 2026. And everyone's back at work. Everyone's back at school here today, as well as, of course, I know that McAllen IC, they had, I believe, 2 more days left on their break. It was mainly for teacher work days for them to get ready for the new semester. I believe Lafayette had that as well. Potentially Brownsville schools and Los Fresno schools had that same deal, at least for one day, to try and get the teachers back before the students, which is nice, of course, when New Year's falls on a weird day like it was. It gives schools an opportunity to give at least 2 more days to get back on track before they have to go into the school year, which is nice. So anyways, let's continue on, and now we're going to talk about some college football because it's always fun. And like we mentioned, this week with the semifinal games, we have none other than Ole Miss taking on Miami, Florida. Both of these 2 teams, they had to play in the first round. It was a little different for both of them. Ole Miss, their first round game was against Tulane. They had played Tulane in the regular season as a non-conference game, a little tune-up game to be exact. Tulane, Mean Green looked like they could potentially, the Tulane Wave, they looked like they could come back and kind of put up a fight in that first game. They did not. Ole Miss were just that much stronger. And then the second time that they played against each other, Tulane thought that they could do the same thing. That didn't happen. The final score of that one was even worse for Ole Miss football. The Ole Miss Rebels football, they won 41-10. They just survived against Georgia, winning 39-34 in the Sugar Bowl. And now they play in the Fiesta Bowl tomorrow at 6:30 p.m., which is going to be fun. 39-34 was your final once again for Ole Miss. But I'm interested to see how that's all going to play out and how it's going to be. Because Ole Miss, if you recall, what's their story in this playoff? Well, right before the playoffs even began, LSU were looking for a head coach. And I remember this story very well because I was on my way to Austin to watch Texas A&M Texas with my father. And we're watching the Egg Bowl, and we're waiting for the announcement from Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss if they're going to do it. And either way, they waited past Thanksgiving. They waited past the Friday, past the Saturday, and then all of a sudden Sunday comes the official statement of Lane Kiffin has accepted the LSU Tigers job. And that was interesting because he accepts the job, but Ole Miss were guaranteed a playoff spot. Most likely a home playoff spot, a 5th seed to be exact. And check that, a 4 seed or a 6 seed. 1 spot ahead of Texas A&M in the rankings. So they got to play against Tulane for the first round of their playoffs. Question was Lane Kiffin going to be the coach for the playoffs? Ole Miss decided no. Your mind's going to be in a different place. So sure enough, Lane Kiffin's getting all used to LSU and all that and the players and such. And here's an interim head coach for Ole Miss, taking a playoff team through the first round into the second round against Georgia and defeating them. And now the question, of course, remained, was Lane Kiffin not necessarily the problem, but is he going to be this? If Lane Kiffin was there, would he have as much success? Would they have still beaten Georgia if Lane Kiffin was there with, of course, accepting the LSU job and all of that fun stuff? Most likely not, which is just crazy to think about. And as for Miami, Florida, they played against Texas A&M. That first round, you've heard me talk about it. The wind gusts were about 14, close to 20 miles an hour. It was really ugly performances from both quarterbacks. The winning TD was a rushing TD. 2 field goals combined from both sides. It was 3-3 at the end of the third quarter. It was, I think, 3-0 at the end of the third quarter. 3-3 close to the end of the game. Texas A&M had a chance to tie it up at the end. Marcel Reed couldn't throw a TD pass. One was caught and then dropped because of a massive hit by Miami. Completely fair. Anyways, a very difficult game. You go to the Cotton Bowl at Jerry World in a dome, and that was against none other than Ohio State. And Miami, Florida rolls by Ohio State in that quarterfinals, making Aggie fans a little bit more disappointed than they needed to be after, of course, what a great season and what Mike Elko has built. You move on, of course, to the next round after that for Miami, Florida, and into this semifinals where anything can be possible. The Rose Bowl now, on the other hand, we had a completely different story on the opposite side. Texas Tech Red Raiders 12-0. They go to their first round. It's going to be at the Rose Bowl on New Year's Day. Or New Year's Eve. Oh, check that. It was New Year's Day. And the day right before, or the game right before, of course, you had Oregon having to play a playoff game. The Ducks got to play against none other than, well, Texas Tech. But in that first round, they got to play against JMU. They beat JMU easily. You go on to that second round, you get to play against Texas Tech, and Texas Tech just, we're not ready. They scored 0 points in that game. Oregon rollover. You go into the third round, now in the semifinals. Who will Oregon play? Well, how about Fernando Mendoza and Indiana? The Hoosiers all of a sudden made a splash this year and got to play in the first round against Alabama. Alabama make it to the quarterfinals to play in the Rose Bowl, and the Indiana Hoosiers somehow, some way, just absolutely decimated Alabama. Crazy, crazy stuff happens, and all of a sudden, here comes a semifinals that we were not expecting at all. And all Big Ten semifinal to see who will play for a national championship. Indiana looked really good, and so do Oregon. On the other side, Ole Miss looked pretty solid. Miami didn't look too bad in their quarterfinals. This is going to be fun, with most likely no SEC team in the championship. Now, if somehow, someway, Ole Miss win on the right side of the bracket, of course, on their right side of the bracket, and they make it to the finals, and somehow Oregon make it to the finals, that's going to be an epic championship, because that's going to be, no one predicted that by far. Everyone most likely had Georgia in the finals. Possibly another early exit for the Indiana Hoosiers. Boy, did the Indiana Hoosiers prove everybody wrong, that they are a legit contender to go to the championship. But they have to face a very difficult Oregon team that they both played against each other, because it's another Big Ten matchup. And that's Oregon's only loss, was against Indiana. Can you beat a team twice, as we've proven in this playoff? That doesn't happen. Reason why OU were eliminated, they just played poorly in their first playoff game. Alabama took over after being down, I believe, 17 points. Absolutely an insane turn of events, and we're looking forward to this semifinal matchup coming up very, very, very soon. And I'm looking forward to all of it. As for this weekend, like we mentioned, we would talk about the All-Star game that's happening this weekend at Bobby Lackey Stadium for the football game. It's something that happens, of course, every single year. And every single end of the season, I should say, the Senior Bowl in a way. And for high school, and like we mentioned, it's going to be a fun one. The reason being, well, we get to cover it. And anytime that RSL and anytime Rio Sports Live Network gets to cover something like that, it is special. I've gotten to call it one time. Got to call it back with a former, of course, colleague of mine, Ruben Rodriguez. And the reason why I bring that up was because it was a blast to cover. It still means something, East and West. But for that, the most part, it's all for fun. And it's all to celebrate every single player's hard work for their school, for their team that season. And it's crazy to say that for some players, they won't be there because of next season. They're still going to be on the team. It's a Senior Bowl, so. There you go. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting for the All-Star game. Real quick, of course, that was one of the employees there. It's a great guy. Omar, I believe is his name. And Anyways, he was just saying, he's like, I told you, Texans. Yes, the Texans are in the playoffs for the NFL playoffs, which that's, of course, fun. But going back to it, it's just, again, I don't know, it's something about it. An all-star game like that brings me joy, especially to call, because, I mean, these players deserve it. These players deserve every ounce of playing in an East versus West all-star game. The only problem that I have with the East versus West all-star game is I can never remember what color's which. If West are blue and East are red, or if that's flip-flopped. That's the only issue that I always have with an all-star game, is I can never remember which side. But it's so much fun because, again, I say it, no team this year, of course, made a special run in the playoffs. But getting to that second round now is key. And when you do that for your team, when you played that well, made the playoffs for the team that thought that they were eliminated, and make that type of, nobody can take it away from you, that making the first team, making the all district, and just the cliche thing to say is it means more, and it does. So very exciting, of course, for this season. And yeah, looking forward to it. Now for the soccer thing, we didn't necessarily get to talk too much about soccer for this episode, because I mean there's not too much to talk about just yet for soccer. We'll have, of course, soccer coverage here coming up very soon. We had the BIC boys soccer tournament this past weekend, and it was, I believe, a success. The way that they play, it's more of a showcase, if anything, and what I mean by that is they're just trying to play as many games as possible, get their quota, and see where the teams are for the season. I still believe that for 5A, the team that will make the biggest difference will be Sherryland High School. 6A, it's always a jump between so many different teams for boys soccer. Boys soccer, I think, at 6A is a little bit more challenging. Brownsville Vets have key players. They can be a solid team to make it to the third round. I don't expect any teams off the 6A ranks to make it to state. As for 5A, you could see Sherryland in their district. You could see Lopez doing the same thing, potentially Porter. Really the top three teams that I'd say look out for coming this season. And a little bit of a sleeper pick that I will always now say for this year, it's Mission Vets boys soccer. Keep an eye out on them. I think they're going to be a lot more solid than you'd expect. Being from the Coach Rafa, doing a good job for his team. And I think there's only positive coming up very soon for his side. That's a sleeper on the 5A side of things. Now 4A, it's as simple as expecting Progresso to make it back with Hidalgo High School. And Valley View being the third, of course, in that 4A. It's the classic three teams that you would expect. And remember, Progresso, they're coming back with everybody. And the team is, well, not against UI Hill rules. And so I'm sure they've triple-checked that and to make sure that this team can get back to the state championship. And it's of the same teams that not necessarily dominated, but it's of the same players that really have that way to go forward and a way to move and have an opportunity of making it back to state and potentially this time winning a state championship. it's time. It's time for a team in the Valley to win another state title in soccer because, well, it's time. um, the we'll be there for a lot of the season. Try to cover as much Upper Valley soccer as I possibly can in my area. That includes McAllen Memorial, Sherryland. That includes McAllen High School. And then we'll see from then on of who we could potentially, of course, fit in to the coverage. Because it's such a beautiful sight to see where there's going to be a state championship coming back home this season. Mark my words. I even believe that it will be in 5A2. Don't even get me started with girls soccer because that's going to be an exciting thing. Look at how strong McAllen Memorial are already with how strong the Lady Bulldogs are, too. Both of those teams, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, as always. And they're in two different divisions. So it makes it even better that they have a chance to, of course, not necessarily play against each other to see who goes to state, but have a chance to get to state together. To have a chance to fight for the titles. And I believe that could happen. Because I look at the results, as always, and you see those two schools being able to defeat Austin teams, San Antonio teams, and even are able to defeat teams from the lower valley ranks that are expecting to be better in 6A, like the Los Fresnos teams, for example, on girls soccer and Harlingen, and the list goes on. Of course, McAllen Memorial, they already have suffered a loss. That was against Harlingen High School, but that was at the start of the season. Did they have all their players? Who knows? And now it's a key for the rest of this season. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to bringing you all coverage from the 2026 soccer season that starts now and ends in about March of spring break for the regular season. Well, that's going to do it for us here from Luke Fruia Motors. I've been Jake Young. This has been a Rio Sports Live presentation. A reminder, of course, one last time, we have games all weekend long. Check Rio Sports Live Network for your games this weekend. Should be fun from basketball to, of course, the All-Star game this upcoming Saturday. That's at 2 p.m. The rest of the games will be at 6 and 7:30 p.m. on RSL Network on Friday. We have, of course, some soccer all day for the girls' soccer tournament up in Brownsville. Check Rio Sports Live Network for that coverage as well. That'll do it. Once again, I've been Jacob Young. This